Hello and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, we'll be discussing how Liam Rosenior has been sacked at Chelsea after only 3 months in charge of the club. But before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way to help me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 307 subscribers, and I just want to say a massive thank you because we're well on our way to getting my main target 500. Can we go and smash it? Hopefully we can. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. And yeah, let's get straight into the episode, shall we? Now, Chelsea have sacked Liam Rosenior after only 3 months in charge of the club. Okay, don't get me wrong. He had a first very good, impressive spell when he first joined. He won like his first 5 games at Chelsea. He was looking like he was starting to put together some decent, a philosophy. There was looking like Chelsea players were looking like they was getting behind him. Under Enzo Maresco now, they wasn't really looking that impressive, was they? But then as soon as Liam Rosenior came in, it sort of, he sort of had a managerial bounce and sort of uplift them overall this season. And they were starting looking like they were going to finish in a top 5 position to try and get Champions League football. But in recent weeks, in recent months, that philosophy has sort of just died out. Some of the things that Liam Rosenior has been saying and doing in the dressing room, in the press conferences, it just like on the pitch as well. It just makes no sense, does it really? You know what I mean? Because some of the things he was talking about, like you've got to be respecting the ball, you've got to give respect to the opposition, and you've got to give all like the things he was doing. I think it was in the Liverpool game, right, where he was sort of shouting at the Liverpool coaches because they were on his half, his side of the pitch, okay, the Chelsea side of the pitch when he was doing the training before the game. That was just so weird. And some of the things he was saying in the press conferences, his tactics, it didn't really sit right with the Chelsea fans and everybody else in the Premier League. I feel like he was just doing too much. He almost became a meme, didn't he, Liam Rosenior, for the first like 3 months of his tenure at the club. He was doing stuff, in the players in the players interviews as well, trying to be all pally with Cole Palmer and other players in there and stuff. It just didn't really work out for me. Liam Rosenior, don't get me wrong, coming from Strasbourg in League One last season, he was doing a good enough job. He was putting some good enough performances. He was starting to build a philosophy in League One at Strasbourg, and you've just got to think to yourself, was he actually good enough? Did he do a good enough job to get the Chelsea job? Don't get me wrong, Strasbourg is a decent level in League One. They were getting them, top 6 football, into the Europa League, into the Champions League positions and whatnot. And he was starting to do good with all those youth players at his disposal. However, Chelsea is a massive step up. They're one of the best teams in the Premier League, and for me, he probably just took the job a little bit too early. Don't get me wrong, it was an in-house decision because Strasbourg are a part of Chelsea, Blueco and whatnot. So, Blueco are sort of negotiating with themselves, if you like, to sort of try and bring Liam Rosenior into Chelsea, into Stamford Bridge, and try and get him performing as he was, as good as he was at Strasbourg to Chelsea. And for me, it's just not been good enough, has he? I'm pretty sure he's only won 11 games out of the 23 in total, okay, in all competitions, and he's currently gone on the 5th consecutive low scoring streak of not even scoring a goal, okay, and that's the worst record for Chelsea since 1912, okay. All of those years, all of those decades, you think about Chelsea, they've always been, a free-flowing football side. They've always been hard to beat. They've always been, very good at scoring goals. But under Liam Rosenior, that's just not been the case, has it? For me, at the moment, if you think about some of the games in recent weeks, I feel like the players have just lost their patience with Liam Rosenior, lost, all their commitment. It just looks like the players do not want to play under that manager for whatever reason it is. Maybe they're seeing the memes online, maybe they're seeing the tactics, maybe they're seeing his philosophy just hasn't been working. It feels like he tried a new formation, a new system week in, week out, and whatever he was trying just wasn't working. You can't be going on a 3-loss back-to-back losing streak, losing 3-0 against Man City, losing 1-0 to Manchester United, and then recently losing 3-0 to Brighton. Okay, that Brighton game was the be-all and end-all for me for Liam Rosenior. He just did not look good enough. He looked like Chelsea just ran out of ideas. They made they made it too easy for Brighton. And for me, when we talk about some of the goals they scored, I feel like all of their goals were a little bit avoidable just because Chelsea made it look so easy. Their defence was so open, their midfield was so open. The goalkeeper Robert Sanchez making all these mistakes. It just wasn't good enough on the day, was it, for Chelsea? You know, don't get me wrong, Brighton are a good footballing side, but they weren't that good enough. I feel like it was more about Chelsea being bad rather than Brighton being good, if that makes sense. Maybe let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. For me, with Liam Rosenior now, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it, okay? He's only been in charge of the club for 3 months, okay? When you think about it, he got like a 5.5 year deal. You know what I mean? Just think about that for a second. Let that sink in. He had a 5.5 year deal, and he's only been at the club for 3 months. That is an absolute abysmal, horrible time at the club. When you think about Chelsea and their ownership and their managers in previous seasons, they've always had winners. And in the likes of, take it back a few years, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, Thomas Tuchel in recent seasons, if you like. They've always had winners. Antonio Conte, how could I forget about him? Now they've brought in a young, unexperienced manager in Liam Rosenior, and it just didn't work, did it? Now you've got to think to yourself, who can they bring in next? I'm not too sure. Will they go down the route of bringing in, another upcoming young, unexperienced manager in the likes of a Cesc Fabregas, let's say, just throwing out a name out there. He's not really been linked to the club, I'm pretty sure. Maybe let me know in the comments down below if he has or not. But Cesc Fabregas at the moment, he's doing some good things with Como in Italy, in Syria. So potentially, maybe the Chelsea fans might get behind that because obviously he's a former player of Chelsea. You know, he won a Premier League for them back in the day, of course, and whatnot. He was a very good manager. Was a very good player, and he looks like a very ambitious manager at the moment. I don't know if the Arsenal fans will be very happy, obviously coming through the Arsenal academy and whatnot, but he played his best football under Chelsea, under Barcelona as well, so maybe he might join them. You've got to think to yourself, it depends whether or not they want to go for a young up-and-coming manager in a Cesc Fabregas, someone else maybe, we don't know, or would they want to go back to, experienced, proven manager in the likes of a Pochettino, Carlo Ancelotti, a Jose Mourinho, someone like that ilk, if you like. I don't really know who's around at the moment. I feel like they probably would. I feel like maybe like Unai Emery might get a bit of a shout for that job just because he's doing some fantastic stuff with Aston Villa, and he's won loads of trophies on his CV throughout the history of his managerial career. But he's probably more of I think he's better as a underdog manager rather than competing at the highest level in the Premier League, like a Chelsea, like an Arsenal, like a Manchester United. I don't think he's probably right. I don't think he's best suited for those sort of clubs that he's been rumoured to join in previous seasons and whatnot. For me, this is only a quick little video because you got to think to yourself, maybe someone like maybe someone like a Bournemouth manager, Areola, he might be open to take the job now. Obviously, with him announced being leaving at the end of the season, maybe he's one clear candidate to potentially take over that role. For me, he probably would be half decent because, again, you've seen him doing some free-flowing football for Bournemouth, so maybe he get the best out of that Chelsea side. But when you think about them this season, every single position on that pitch has been absolutely dreadful, haven't they? From defence to striker to goalkeeper to midfielders. They've been absolutely abysmal. Don't get me wrong, they've had a few standout candidates in Enzo Fernandez. He's been all right. Caicedo's been all right. Reece James is always pretty good, isn't he? Yao Pedro's been good at times here and there. But throughout the whole season, okay, consistently, they've just not been good enough. And I don't know what they're going to do because they can't, next season, right, they can't go out and buy even more and more players, can they? Just because they've got so many players at their disposal, and they need to at some point, find a system that suits them. Find the players that want to be at the club or who rather don't would just want to take the paycheck and want to sit on the bench, if you like. Just because at the moment it's looking like half the players don't even want to be at the club, and they just need a manager. They need the players. They need a manager who can get the players rolled up and play for the manager, if you like, because we've seen it under Enzo Maresca, it didn't really end well. Under Liam Rosenior, it started off pretty good and then it went quite bad, didn't it? So from that point of view, it isn't great, is it? So yeah, it is a little bit weird one. But yeah, let's end the video with some questions, okay? How do you feel about Liam Rosenior getting sacked after 3 months at the club? Who will take over from Liam Rosenior? Will it be a up and coming manager in the likes of a Cesc Fabregas? Maybe will it be like a Iriola from Bournemouth? Will it be somebody else, maybe more experienced? Maybe like a potential person, maybe like a Borussia Dortmund manager who's also been linked with the club at the moment. How do they feel about Chelsea this season? Can they still finish in the top six, top five? Can they get Champions League football? You know, what went wrong for Liam Rosenior? Were the players just not playing for the badge, if you like? Who needs to sort of almost leave? Who are the players that need to sort of stay at the club, who want to be there, and who needs to leave this summer to sort of get out and just have a fresh start away from, Chelsea, away from Stamford Bridge? How do you feel about them going on their losing streak of like, consecutive, it's been a consecutive fifth game where they haven't scored. The worst run since like 1912. Okay, absolutely abysmal, isn't it? Standards from them. When we think about, Chelsea being a total challenging side for all these years. They always manage to get a Premier League under their belt, get a Champions League as well. Whether they deserve it or not, that's a whole different conversation. They've had a bit of a fluke here and there. Champions League, you could argue. So yeah. Before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel. Recently, just hit 307 subscribers. We're well on our way to getting my main target, 500. Can we go and smash it? Hopefully, we can. Just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes. All the likes and the comments on social media as well, definitely going unnoticed. And yeah, just want to say a massive thank you, really. And I really do hope you have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.